Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Chris Adams, host of Retro Life for You. Uh, you know, been floating our guest hosts around for the last few weeks as usual, and I've been looking for one for this week. Originally, we had a different show in mind, and we've had to reschedule, so we're on a backup version. And I was like, where am I going to find a guest? So I started kicking rocks over, and of all places under this rock, this one dude slid out. I, if you were able to see the video right now, you'd see who it is. And but with that
Oh
laugh,
yeah.
with that laugh, that just reminds me of Mr. Travis Rollins.
Hey, 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 hey. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time, man. How things been going with you?
It was good, man. I was comfy under that rock with this cold weather, bro.
I bet you were, man. You like one of them polar bear people. You like that cold weather stuff.
I do. It's crazy how cold, especially being here in South Carolina. It dropped down to I think 14 degrees right
Oh,
before Christmas.
dude, I'm getting the same weather you are. I'm not that far away now. I'm getting the same
Yeah,
weather.
it's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah, I've been
Well,
doing good, man. I've been working all the time as usual, and I don't have time for too much else. But other than that, yeah. How
I
you, man?
know. Man, I've been doing pretty good. It's the same old, same old. Work and play, work and play. This is my only play I got. But
Hey.
I got a little game I play on the side. I play a little Warcraft here and there. Everybody knows that. But
Oh yeah, yeah.
this is my main deal right here. This is what keeps me entertained. This is what I love to do. I'm sitting there fiddling with
Right on.
editing, coming up with
Well,
ideas for shows. Trying to
I have a
contact
new game
people.
I've been on. I recently, well, I say recently, but back, in the summer, I picked up an Xbox One X, and I've been playing Elden Ring, dude.
Uh,
I'm in love with it.
Elden Ring. Is that like
Elden Ring. It's by the makers of Dark Souls, so it's considered it's a Dark Souls game, but it's not. It's a Dark Souls like game. So they made it. I mean, it's a Dark Souls game. Who are we
it
kidding?
sounds
But
familiar to me, but I was thinking Elder Scrolls at first, but
yeah, yeah, yeah. So Elden Ring is like it's funny because it's a grandiose fantasy game. It's kind of reminiscent of our show this evening. So I've been in love with it. So anybody who does know Dark Souls and maybe Monster Hunter is Dark Souls with Monster Hunter controls, which means that I mean it's been updated and the controls on it are just so much tighter and better. It's super enjoyable and it's still one of the hardest games I ever played. Like you get killed a lot, you will die
See, that's the
a
only,
lot.
only the only reason I would go out and buy an Xbox or a PlayStation right now is for games like that. I think I could probably get it for PC as well, but
Oh, definitely.
my biggest problem is when it comes to games is I get so tied up invested into a game, and right now I played World of Warcraft since the original release of the Wrath of the Lich King. That's
Oh
back
yeah.
about 20, was it
Hmm.
2009,
That
2000?
was even before you could get a hold of a night elf mohawk.
Yeah, that was actually that Night Elf Mohawk thing. The grenade you could throw at people and make them have the Mohawk thing came later on. Mister
Yeah.
Although Mr. T commercials were crazy, and then
Oh
later
yeah.
on they had a Chuck Norris thing come into it. I think, um,
Right.
but now World of Warcraft only has what we refer to as retail, which is the regular updated today version of the game.
Hmm.
We also have Classic that they re-released for the people who really want to go back and enjoy the way it used to be. Not to mention for the new players who never got to experience what it was like to be in Classic WoW. They've re-released them from the beginning. So you had what they call the Vanilla WoW. Then you had the Burning Crusades expansion. Uh,
Awesome.
then you have Wrath of the Lich King, which is where I came in.
Hmm.
So I have gone back to playing the old classic Wrath of the Lich King, where it's a little bit tougher.
Hmm.
You do die more than you do in retail because retail has been made so easy now. It's pitiful.
Right. That's one of
Retail
the big deals about. That's one of the big things about us that love the Dark Souls series and the release of Elden Rings is there is zero hand holding. Like if you jump into this game before you have, if you've never played a Dark Souls game before and you just jump into this game without any kind of guidance, you're going to put the game down. You're going to hate it. You're going to say it sucks. Like if you don't know what this game is before you play it or learn about it,
Yeah.
you're going to totally hate it because it's punishing.
Do they hate it because they die so often, though? Is that what it is?
Yeah, they hate it because you die so often and they don't know what to do. They don't understand the system behind how it's so in depth with I don't want to say customization, but that the attribute system. So
Yeah.
like, okay, you can build. There's a set. There's set character classes, but you can build those characters into anything you want. And then you've also got a character class that starts out with his stats are 10 across the board for, and it's normal. Like it's normal. Everything scales off D&D, man. It's normal D&D stuff. You've got your vitality and your, strength and vigor and all this stuff. So it all scales off of that, and you build it the way you want to. And like I said, you get killed. You get killed all the time. You got to learn how to parry, roll, dodge. You really have to learn how to control your character. And then as far as building it is concerned, you've got, it's not called luck, but you've basically got a luck skill, and how often you find things, like
Right.
drops off of characters. However often you find that's dependent on that. And like, you can't wield a two-handed weapon unless you've got this, but then you can wield a two-handed weapon if you use both hands, because normally it's wielded, a two-handed weapon is wielded in one, or a great sword, not a two-handed weapon. A great sword is wielded in one hand, but if you're too weak to wield it, you can actually wield it with both hands, but then you can't use a shield. So it's so in depth.
I get
It's
it.
so in
I get
depth.
it. When it comes to Warcraft, what you're talking about is similar to what they call the warrior. You
Mm-hmm.
have a arms warrior, then you have a fury warrior, and then a protection warrior. An
Mm-hmm.
arms warrior will dual wield. He'll dual wield one hand weapons or one two handed weapon with both hands. All right.
Right.
You can do a one hand weapon and a shield, but you're going to lose a
Mm-hmm.
lot of power if you do. So it's
Right.
not recommended. Fury warrior, you can dual wield two handed weapons because you
Right.
factor in extra strength. You have the prot warrior, protection warrior, shield, and a one handed sword. So
Right.
very similar to what you're talking about, and then different stats. They got strength, agility, intellect.
Mm-hmm.
Now we
Dexterity.
now we've got what they call well in classic you have hit, armor pen, you have strength, intellect, agility, then you have spirit, and one other thing I believe is I'm drawing a blank on. And the newer ones they cut out a lot of the other stuff. Strength, agility, and intellect are your three mains, depending on what class you are, and then
Mm-hmm.
your side stats: crit, hit, mastery, and then there's a couple of smaller stats that you don't build up that much of because it's not available so much, but a little bit helps here and there to go. And these all
Right.
these games we're talking about are based on a time frame setting of where you feel like you're back in an older, like you said,
Yes. High
game.
fantasy, I would call it.
Yeah, exactly. Fantasy type deal. Swords, crossbows, bow and arrows, shields. I
Yeah.
mean, and so like you said, it ties in well with today because today you and I are going to talk about the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring specifically,
Oh yeah.
where it all
The
started for.
Peter Jackson movie. Because
Yeah,
we think of a lot of places with the Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring.
right. But I mean, this we're talking about the actual movie Peter Jackson put out for the big screen for us, not the cartoon, but we're going
Right.
with this. Peter Jackson, he just brought this world to life for everybody, from
Oh
what it was,
man.
and like
In
any
a
other book,
spectacular way too. In a
yes,
spectacular way.
it's like a whole universe now people can enjoy and think about. Like we talked about this, you and I did a show. What universe would you live in if you could? And one of
Yeah.
them was Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings,
Yes.
Star Trek, Star Wars, and Harry Potter. We chose was the four we picked. Which one would you live
Yep.
in?
Yep.
And
And I
Lord of
don't
the Rings.
remember which one. I don't remember which world I picked. Do you
Uh,
remember which world you picked?
I think I stuck with Lord of the Rings because I was a big fan of like. And I may be wrong. I had to thinking back on it because I can't remember the entire show. I'm thinking I was gonna go Star Wars because I love like the lightsaber and the space travel and stuff like that you could go through. But
Right.
just an average everyday life of what we consider we're used to now, we can relate more to a Lord of the Ring type of lifestyle because you got the Shire or the where the humans live and do the same things we
Mm-hmm.
do on a daily basis anyway. But you get the excitement or the possibility of having to fight with orcs or something, depending on what you're going to be, in that world. So,
No doubt.
and then like any other book to movie translation, there are some things that are lost. We'll get on that in a minute. Obviously, it's not word for word with the book, but this was a book written and based off of what J.R.R. Tolkien did. A
Hmm.
long time ago. You've got The Hobbit, and then from The Hobbit, I believe you go to The Lord of the Rings. So you got Fellowship of the Rings, The Two Towers, and then Return of the King. Eventually, I want to get to the other two as well, but we'll space them out.
Absolutely.
And we'll space them out from here and there. That way, if you want to be the one to come back and talk about them, we can space them out and finish what we start with this one tonight or something.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I can totally rejoin you for that.
yeah, I mean, it's just what to, like I said, we'll pick and choose our times. I know you're busy with stuff and all, so we'll to make sure we got a good date to go with and everything. Did you know, not to go straight into trivia, basically, but did you know that Christopher Lee that played Saruman,
Yes,
he read the Lord of the Rings once a year
once a
till,
year.
till his death in 2015. He had
Yep.
done so since the year it was published. That is a long time. I mean, he had to have known this front
Yes,
and back. He was also the only member of the cast and crew to have ever met J.R.R. Tolkien. Uh,
that's
that's,
awesome.
I
I
thought
didn't
that was
realize he was
cool.
the only member of the cast, but I did know that he did that. So when these movies came out finally on DVD, I had the extended versions of all.
Yes.
And let me tell you, woof, to this day, I probably have not watched all of the extra content that is on those DVDs. There is so much behind the scenes interviews and just it is insane how much you learn. And yeah, I did see that on that. I learned that there. And Saruman was who he wanted to play. Like he wanted to play that character.
Yeah.
So out of everyone you could have hired, one of the greatest actors to ever breathe, he chose to play the like that's who he wanted to play. So I thought that
I
was pretty awesome as well.
I wish I still had those. I don't have. I don't think I either. I don't have those right now, or I don't. Well, I know I don't have a DVD player at the moment.
Right, me neither.
Everybody's like, "Who don't have a DVD player these days, man?"
I know, right?
I'm
I think I only had a
sorry.
Blu-ray. I think I only had a Blu-ray player for like 2 years, and I was like, "Why do I need a Blu-ray player? I got my PlayStation." So it's like,
Well, I mean, in my case, I lost mine a little bit before the move. The one that I had that was
yeah,
working stopped working, and the one I had before that I lost in Hurricane Michael when it came through,
right,
along with the majority of my DVDs. So if
yeah,
I didn't have a bunch of DVDs, I wasn't going to go out and buy myself a DVD player. Uh,
yeah.
I
Well,
had
see,
moved
nowadays
on.
too, you can get nowadays with having Amazon and everything, you can get all of it on Amazon too. I do have the extended cuts, which I have playing in the background right now. I've got the Fellowship playing right now, the extended cut, but you don't get all the extras. The only way that I know of that you can get all of those extras is if you get the DVDs.
Well, I don't know if it's the same way on Vudu or not when you purchase them. On
Yeah,
Amazon, I think you can purchase the digital on Amazon too, right?
yeah,
Okay, so most of my all of my digital stuff I have is on Vudu. And
okay,
I went digital when I lost the majority of my DVDs. I had a 20-year collection of DVDs going on that I lost a majority of when
right,
Hurricane Michael hit. So that
yeah,
pretty much kind of knocks the wind out of your sails when it comes to collecting.
no
So,
doubt, no doubt.
but anyway, uh,
So with that trivia with him too, uh, uh, it tripped me out about Sir Ian McClellan
mhm,
playing Gandalf. So you've got it, what I'm trying to say is okay. So Peter Jackson took what he felt like were lesser well known actors and actresses, which may seem funny to us who love Free Willy with Elijah Wood, but and the Goonies. So we know those guys. So, but anyway, for the most part, he used lesser known actors and actresses. How could you've got Ian McKellen and you've got Christopher Lee, and these are two of the. I guess maybe it's because they're so well known on the stage. Maybe it's
yeah,
their background was better known on the stage. But you got these two iconic actors
right.
that you know in the midst of what we consider or what he was considered non-iconic. And then I look at Kate Blanchett, and then I
Mhm.
look at oh man, I know his name and it just left my brain. Mr. Anderson. What's his name? The guy that played what I mean? He's Elrond in the movies, but I forget his name. Um, but you got these guys, and I guess really some of them we didn't know before this, but he found fame, like I said, with uh, uh, the Matrix movies, and then you've got Kate Blanchett, who I consider a huge star.
So the guy you were talking about is Hugo Weaving.
Hugo Weaving, thank you.
Yes, played. He
Yes,
was in V for Vendetta too, wasn't he?
yes, yes. So what? Like when the movie came out, when you remember back in 2000, whenever, um, did you recognize the stars aside from, of course, Mikey and
All right, so
Free
Sean
Willy?
Sean Astin obviously, and then you said free we called him Free Willy.
Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood. I remember him from I believe Deep Impact was before this movie too, if I'm not
I think
mistaken.
so. This
So
came out 2000. Came out because I brought it up when we were talking about doing it. It was 2001.
yeah, 2001. And I remember Elijah Wood from being like in a few other things. He said Free Willy. He was in Deep Impact, and
Hmm.
that's one more. I'm trying to think of the other one too. There's one more
He
came to
wasn't in the
mind.
movie with the daggum the Ninja Turtle ripoff kangaroos, was he? You know what I'm talking about? You remember that movie?
No, not off the top of my head.
It had the kangaroos that did martial arts.
No, I don't remember
Oh, I
that.
swear that movie was crazy.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Kangaroos.
So you didn't recognize a lot of the other actors and
Okay,
actresses
so
then.
I did not know who Sean Bean was. I did not know who Billy Boyd or Andy Serkis uh, or who was the other Hobbit? There was Billy Boyd and
Oh yeah, for sure I didn't know them.
yeah, those guys I did not know. Ian McKellen. Um, the main things I know Ian McKellen from, of course, are for this and his portrayal of Magneto in X
Hmm.
Men. That's the two biggest
And
things for me
Orlando,
with
we knew
him.
Orlando. Well, this came out right around the same time as Pirates, so I wonder. I have not researched this. I wonder if Orlando was working on it at the same time as Pirates, because when he came out as Bootstrap Bill Kid, how
Yeah.
can I not remember these names tonight? I don't know what's wrong with me.
Well,
But
Bootstrap
anyway,
Bill was the name. You're right on that. Now,
that was his dad.
Pirates of the
But anyway, when he
Caribbean,
did
the
that,
first
he
one,
blew up.
but Pirates of
Yeah,
the Caribbean was after Lord of the Rings.
was it? Okay, cool.
Pirates of the Caribbean is 2003.
Okay,
The first one was. So that's
okay. So
so
Orlando was in there first. Okay.
yeah, Lord, he was in
I
Lord of the Rings.
definitely knew who Vigo Mortensen was. Vigo was already one of my favorite actors because I remember Vigo. He did Hidalgo came after this, but
Yes,
Vigo was in Tombstone. He was in
Young Guns
A
too.
History of Violence. He was in what's that?
Was he in Young Guns too?
Was it Young Guns or Tombstone? He was one of the cops or featured in
He was
looking.
in Young Guns too because he was one of the guys I think leading the posse with Pat Garrett, and he's the one that kind
Yes,
of talks when Pat Garrett says, "Don't refer to me common like that again, or I'll put you on your your little butt." Basically, is what he told him.
yes, yes.
I believe that was Viggo Mortensen there. History
Right.
of
Yeah, that was
Violence obviously was another one.
yeah, exactly. He was also in G.I. Jane, Vanishing Point.
Yes, G.I.
Uh,
Jane.
he was in Daylight with Stallone.
Right, he was.
So I mean, he's done a lot. Albino Alligator. So I knew him pretty well before then.
He was there, but he wasn't a well-known commodity. I don't think you could say.
Yeah, yeah,
I
because
don't
his
think you could
amazing
say.
movies
I don't think you say he
when
was a
he
household name, right? By any means.
yeah, I think he truly still isn't. To be honest, he's just one of my favorites because
Well,
I know his really great movies came after he played Aragorn. Everybody loved Hidalgo,
all right.
but then he did his best movies. My favorite movies that he did have been History of Violence, aside from Lord of the Rings, have been History of Violence and Eastern Promises. Those are two of the greatest movies I've ever seen. They're amazing. Then he did a western with uh, Harris, Ed Harris, called Appaloosa,
Yeah.
which was really really good.
Yep.
So
Definitely good.
heck yeah.
Well, then some of the other names also that like you don't know of. I mean, Kate Blanchett is an excellent actress. I don't
Oh
remember.
my God.
I don't remember a lot of her stuff before this because, I mean, I watch certain kinds of movies. All right, I don't watch
Right.
a lot of drama types or things that make you think of the theater or something like that. Like her, when I say the theater, what am I referring to? Movies like um, how they made Les Miserables. They brought that to a movie.
Yeah, I love it.
Movies that might have been on the stage first and they made into a movie form or something. I haven't watched a lot
Right.
of those or anything. So I wasn't real big on the drama stuff. And I think that's
Yeah.
more or less what she did the most of. If she did anything before this,
Uh,
it was something like
oh,
that.
she did a lot before this. So, so what I originally remember her from was Elizabeth. She played Queen Elizabeth in '98. Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and just not play around with it. Let me pull it up to make sure. I don't want to be throwing false information out. But I remember her from Elizabeth, and I remember her from Eyes Wide Shut. And the biggest one, when I fell in love with her, was either it's a toss up between The Talented Mr. Ripley and a movie called Bandits, which is so funny because I saw her in an interview the other day, and she was talking about how Bandits didn't do well, and I'm like, that's one of my favorite movies. It's got her, Billy Bob Thornton, and Bruce Willis in it, and Billy Bob and Bruce are two brothers that are bank robbers that are in love with
Right.
her.
Now
So,
I've seen parts of that. I didn't watch the whole
oh, it's
movie.
hilarious.
I did not
So
watch the
yeah,
whole movie.
I guess I could say that maybe she wasn't quite so big. So, and she still, I think, is very, like you said, maybe grand theater and artful type movies is what she kind of leans toward, because that video that interview that I saw with her was actually promoting her new movie. I think it's called Tear, and she plays a what is it, the people that do the orchestra, the conductor. She plays a conductor in that.
Well, so, I mean, names aside and everything, we know that he put together a great cast of people for the roles he was creating. They brought these characters to life for us. I'm not. It's hard to say if anybody else could have done better or worse, because I mean, Billy Bean, Sean Bean. I said Billy Bean. That's a baseball player, wasn't it? Sean Bean playing Boromir. You probably could have got somebody else to play Boromir and play it well.
Absolutely.
Look at Carl Urban, who did.
But then when Game of Thrones came out, you wouldn't have went, "Oh my God, it's Boromir!"
I did.
I was so mad when Eddard got beheaded. I'm like, "How Boromir gonna die twice?"
Yes, I'm like, I mean, is he typecasted now or something? What's up here?
Mm-hmm.
He was also in the National Treasure movie game that they had.
Yeah,
Uh,
we were talking too about how books and movies are different too. And one of the things that I love about Sean Bean's character about Boromir in the movies, and it's I don't know if it's one of the things that Tolkien's children are angry about, because, and I don't know, that's a whole other topic too. But anyway, there's a part in the movie Boromir's death,
yes.
the speech that he gave to Aragorn, the words that he said to Aragorn were never in the book, and his character wasn't as impactful in the books as it was in the movie. And I feel like the decision to put that in there, so that entire conversation was added, where he said, "I would have followed you to the end, my lord, my liege, my brother, my king."
Mm-hmm.
And that the addition of that wasn't in the book, and how it relates to what it did for the character, and where it puts you in your emotional connection to the movie, was like, that was so great. That was just so great to see that the change in him, you know what I mean? And to take that character and build it into something that just became so meaningful in that moment.
And we're talking about characters and people playing them. We left out, in my opinion, one of my
Our
favorites.
greatest find.
Well, one of our favorites from the
I know who you're
first
going to
one.
say.
Who am I going to say?
Andy Serkis.
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
Andy Serkis doing Gollum is great, and he developed that type of stuff big after that. He did a lot of other stuff like it
I
too.
think he's our greatest. I think he's our greatest takeaway from the movies,
But
because of everything he's done after.
yeah, but I love the fact that Liv Tyler was in it playing Arwen.
Was she not great? She was
She has
amazing too.
there's a scene in it where they've already taken off and left the Shire. Basically, let's go and get to the movie real quick. So let's just
Let's
say,
do it.
so we got it starts out, it tells you what happened years ago. The ring,
Uh-huh.
the rings of power, how they came about, how many that were made. You had 3 for the Elven Lords. You had how many was it for the Dwarf Lords? Was it 4?
The
Uh,
Dwarf Lords, you had no, was it? It was 4, 5, and 7, wasn't it?
Well, I know there was three for the elves. There was you
Yeah,
had, I believe Elrond had one. I think Galadriel had one. And who was the guy that they showed in that new series they made? They were showing the creation of the rings. I think he had the third one or something.
I thought that Orlando Bloom's dad had one. Yeah,
I
he
think
did
yeah,
because he was
that's
one of
right.
the
Yeah,
originals.
yes, exactly. You're right. So,
Yeah,
all right, so maybe there was four then. But you had so many for the elves, so many for the dwarves, and nine for men. Which
right,
then you had, but what they didn't know was that Sauron the Deceiver, they call him, has made one ring in the background that he's using to control all the other rings, where he can inflict his mentality, his meanness, his gruesomeness, or whatever, in through these rings, which changed a lot of stuff. And eventually, over the years, it basically drove men, crazy. Whoever wielded the ring just went crazy at that point, and there was
right,
a lot of death, a lot of killing, and everything from that. And then they say
right.
eventually some people stood up to him, which was you had the elves come together with men and went to fight the big fight at Mordor to break free from all this.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
you've
so
got
hold on. Let me interrupt you real quick. Since we're bringing the show back to being a show instead of just two buddies sitting here chatting, since we're trying to bring it back around, there were the 16 of the 19 rings were forged. 16 of the 19 rings forged were given to the dwarves and men. 7 to the dwarves and 9 to the men. The three that you're thinking of were the 3 rings forged by the elves without Sauron's touch, and those 3 rings were kept by the elves and hidden from Sauron, and
okay.
were not created for war but for healing and protection.
I'm glad you looked that up. Then
Yes, sir.
that's definitely a key thing to know. But hey,
Absolutely.
two buddies talking, you can't beat that either.
Hey, we keep it entertaining.
I know. Are you not entertained? All right.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, so I wrote this down so I wouldn't forget it. Basically, after they have the fight and they look like they got things going their way, Sauron comes out himself and starts cleaning house. And the king at the time, Isildur,
Right.
goes to meet him head on and takes a swing that he can't stop, and it's basically, I guess, killed him. His son runs over there and goes to pick up the sword that his father had dropped, and Sauron, I guess, had stepped on it and shattered it or whatever. He takes the broken part of it by the handle and swings it at him wildly and cuts off his fingers across his hand as he swings wildly at him. So the ring comes off, and this ends up putting an end to Sauron. So 2,500 years go by, and the ring is forgotten. This is like the time frame between all this. This is really amazing on how long the story had been going, because and I bring this up because they did this thing on, was it Disney or was it Amazon? It was Amazon did that series about the ring.
Which was atrocious.
I kind of liked it for what it was, but
I wanted to. I loved it. I honestly, the first 2 episodes, I was loving it, and then it was like it just became too much because you know, and this is where I understand Halo fanatics and other people. I am out of everyone I know who is in love with something. I'm very forgiving about like even okay, Silver Surfer. I'm gonna harken back to it. I'm gonna whine about this the rest of my life. So with with the Infinity Wars, they Hulk and Bruce Banner falling through getting plummeting through the roof of the I can't remember the name of the building, but anyways, where Doctor Strange was.
right.
That actually happened in the comic books, and it was actually Silver Surfer. So, like Thanos, people don't understand. You cannot have Thanos without Silver Surfer. They are yin and yang to one another in the comics.
Yeah.
So, you know, but I understood what they were trying to do when they got it all wrong. So, what it is with the Lord of the Rings thing that they're doing on Amazon. So they make Galadriel, and I guess they're trying to turn it around in the future or whatever. But they made Galadriel so not Galadriel. She's so uncharacteristic, which I know it makes for good TV. But then you take things that are in the books to where, or in the lore, to where you've got two people who didn't even live in the same time frame, meeting each other and being the lady that she meets. I can't remember. I don't remember who she was, but there's a lady that she goes to their kingdom and she meets her.
The one at Numenor.
At Numenor, yes. Okay, so the Numenor sank or was destroyed or something. Galadriel never met her. That woman died. So in Numenor, it was destroyed before Galadriel ever went there. And then you've got, not Sauron.
So just for a second, so Galadriel never went there in the books or anything like that. As far as the lore goes, the visions that the woman was having of Numenor being basically underwater and destroyed and stuff, and so that's what happened to Numenor. But she never
in the books,
but she never actually.
Her and Galadriel never spoke to one another at all in the books. They never met. Nothing.
Okay.
Like, so it takes away from that whole. It takes away from that part of the lore, and then what they did. I didn't mind so much what they did with Gandalf, but then putting not Sauron in as a quasi love interest. It seems like I didn't watch enough of it to know how it's going. I only watched, I think, 2.5 or 3 episodes. But it seemed like they were definitely putting not Sauron in as her love interest at the moment, and it just got to be too much. I was like, I can't do this.
It kind of felt like that because he took her from the sea, basically, and he rescues her. He says he took her from the sea. He knew who she was the whole time, apparently, with what was going on, or he at least had a good idea. But
right,
it does show them two at kind of an add-ons, kind of at odds with each other most of the time, but still kind of drawn to each other in a sense.
Yeah.
And just whenever they're kind of friendly and everything, I guess is when he starts making his big move on stuff. He tries to get her to believe in him and change his point of view and his way and all. And that's when you find out while watching the series that who he is at this point, because the person who had fallen from the sky and these two people had showed up to take his side and said they were there for the man who was going to be the one to lead or something, the follower of so-and-so. You think he is Sauron. As it turns out, the guy that fell is not Sauron. It's the one who's with Galadriel.
Oh, I knew that. Yeah. That's why I kept calling the one who was Galadriel not Sauron, because I knew immediately. Well, I didn't know immediately, so I will concede. I did not know immediately. I figured that was Sauron there for about 10 minutes, and then I was like, oh no, that's Gandalf. So like I figured out really quickly that was Gandalf that fell from the sky, because Gandalf, all of the wizards and see, that's something that we don't touch on. That's another thing that we lost. I think, if I remember correctly, that the books actually did, the LOTR trilogy did touch on the wizards being Istari, which are pretty much the highest choir of angels if you relate it to that.
Yeah.
So Gandalf is a higher being than him and Sauron are like equal beings, even though they show it not to be that way. Because Sauron is a servant of Morgoth, and he's a third creation, I guess you would say. So like as far as from where the song is sang, if you go back to the Silmarillion, from where the music is sang, and then you bring in the whatever Morgoth and all the other ones were called, I can't remember. They're like the second choir, and then the Astari comes right below them, and then the evil they called Sauron something different, but he is technically an Astari, so they're all kind of on the same level as being basically like angels, angels and demons. So that's how you would equate it. So their power levels like equivalent to one another, technically speaking.
So take someone like me who's not, an expert or anybody like that on the lore of the Lord of the Rings, so completely. Like, I did not read The Hobbit. I read the I wasn't required to read The Hobbit in school for any reason, and no one ever introduced me to The Hobbit. I saw the cartoon. But I mean, no one introduced me to the books when I was young about that. So my first taste of the books was the Lord of the Rings with the Fellowship, and then Two Towers, and then Return of the King. And those were long and drawn out for me, even at the time when I read them as an adult. It's hard for me to take this in and really get into it. Because they get
it was like that for a lot of people too. Because remember, even the theatrical releases of the first movies were like 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, but at least in the movies when they released them, they it was easier to follow. Like in the book, when they're calling Gandalf, there's Gandalf Stormcrow, there's Mithrin, what Mithrandir,
Mithrandil. Mithrandil.
Mithrandir. I mean, you get all these
That's
different
what.
names.
Yeah, Mithrandil is what Galadriel calls it.
Yeah, you get all these different names for them and everything. I'm trying to follow this through, and then you got the names of the people who are kings and names of the kingdoms. They're all
Like
big,
Theoden and
crazy.
Eowyn and Theorem
Yeah,
and
yeah, big crazy names and everything. I'm like, where's like Michael and Charles and Joe and
right?
I mean,
No kidding.
you can bring some Ricky
There's no
Bobby in
there's
if you
no
want
Mike or
to. I mean,
Steve. There's a Mike or
yeah,
Steve everywhere. At least a Chris.
exactly. I mean, come on. But no, I mean, so I'm not real deep in the lore. So when I'm watching this new thing that Amazon put out, it gets to the point to where I realize finally, and I get this feeling come over me like, oh man, how did I miss this? I didn't
Yeah.
know at the time he was Sauron, but I'm like, I should have known because they called him Sauron the Deceiver, and this is what he's been doing
Right.
to her the whole time, is deceiving her on his point of view and who he was and everything else. And then at the end of it, when the one guy's going off with the Hobbit, they're looking off in the distance. She's like, "What? Which way should we go?" And he's like,
Hmm.
"I think we should go down this way." He says, "When in doubt, always follow your nose." And I'm like,
Right. Right.
"Are you kidding me?" I'm
Right.
like, "That's Gandalf." I'm like, "How
Heck
did you
yeah.
know?" I'm like, this is all big for me at the time. I didn't know these, and I wasn't a huge lore follower of it or anything to know all these things like it. So
Right.
I picked up a little bit off of that, and now that I know it's not 100% useful with the book and everything, and consistency with it, I mean, it makes a difference to me. But
And see, like I said too, I can forgive those things too. As a fan, I can forgive those things. But when it got too far to, um, we left Tolkien behind, and we got too far into our today's. How do I say this today? Basically, today's political agenda. I could see that shining through it
yeah,
blatantly. It was we abandoned our beloved lore and this world builder who has inspired. I mean, you take nearly anything that came after the original Lord of the Ring publications, and you can see Lord of the Rings in it. So Tolkien has touched so much of the world culture, not just what we get into. Tolkien books and stories touched the entire world's and shaped the entire world's culture as far as storytelling is concerned. And to take that, and in my mind, as a fan and an admirer of the man, to take that and seemingly disregard every bit of it to fit into our today's politically charged social narrative really turned me off too.
yeah.
So that was one of the things that turned me off about it as well. I can forgive. I can
Now,
forgive like the little things. The Harfoots. The Harfoots are hobbits. Why can't we call them hobbits? They are a tribe of hobbits.
yeah,
It even said that in the movie that were.
yeah. Well, he's listing off. I mean, Bilbo's listing off all the different ones. It seems like until
Yeah,
it goes all the way
proud
down
feet.
to Proudfoot, and the guy goes Proud
Yes.
Feet.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, we're celebrating Bilbo's 111th birthday, and Gandalf is making his appearance back, and he's coming back for his birthday. He meets up with Frodo along the way. They have a little conversation about stuff, and so they get there. And they're having the festival starts. The whole thing is going on. They're doing fireworks, and of course, Pippin and Merry get into
Mary.
they get into the stuff and set off the big banger at the end too early. Get in trouble because that's what they do. They're little mischievous hobbits.
Right.
Leave it to a took, they say.
Leave it
But,
to a took. Fool of a took. Peregrine took.
well, you got Gandalf. I mean, not Gandalf. I'm sorry. You got Bilbo giving his speech of how he's leaving, and he suddenly disappears. People are
Yep.
going crazy, like, "Where'd he go? What happened? He just disappeared," And he's just giggling and laughing on his way up to up to back in. And Gandalf had already got up there ahead of him, and it's like I guess you thought that was mighty cute, didn't you, Bilbo? Talks about magic rings and how they're not to be used lightly, and he
Right.
talks him into leaving the ring behind for Frodo. He's leaving everything else behind for Frodo. Well, Gandalf, when he goes to pick it up, I guess, gets a vision of the eye of Sauron at that point and doesn't touch it, leaves it there. You see him off to the side, just dwelling on thought, thinking about this ring when Frodo comes in and sees it and picks it up. No problem. He tells him to put it in a little envelope. He seals it shut. He's going to go take care of some things and check some things out. He's going to go check out this ring and everything because he's heard the name Precious uttered by Bilbo, and he says it's been
Right.
before. He recognized that in a sense, so he wants to confirm his suspicions, yes or no, hoping it's not it. So when he finally comes back to the Shire again to check things out, he throws it in the fire. Just says, flame will reveal.
Yeah, because he read. I believe it was actually a Fildor's, um, like journalistic
Right,
writings where he
right.
said it is precious to me.
Yes,
And it was like the way the flames came in. Peter Jackson was so great with this movie too, because the way the flames, he was reading this and you get this ominous feeling. Like, dude, this movie, this entire movie series is just such a cinematic milestone, and this is historically just like this was such a, this is our moment. I
yeah,
remember when this came out, it was just so amazing. And even today, I feel like it stands up to anything that
yes.
you know,
It-
we can watch other movies from that time and see the special effects and things that are going on and be like, wow, really? Like that did not hold up well.
no,
Lord of the Rings, not so.
and there's only a few movies out there for me where they have put the scenery, the background, the way they've done the edits and everything with the special effects, the music involved with it,
Oh, the
and
score was
the
just,
scores,
yeah,
everything coming together as one and making it be as powerful as this was. This is how great Peter Jackson did this. So
right.
we find out, unfortunately, this is the ring, right? This is the ring of power, and it's got to
Yeah,
be taken out of the Shire because Gandalf has already heard that the people over there in Mordor have already found out they had got Gollum and found out from him two words. It was Baggins and Shire, and that's going to lead them there. And Frodo's trying to give it to Gandalf, who won't take it. And he tells you at this point, don't misunderstand. I would want to do good, but a ring of that power on me, I could do terrible, terrible things with. Which falls back
right.
to you talking about earlier about how him and Sauron might be kind of like on the level with each other in a sense. With that
Yeah,
ring, he could be just as evil and powerful as Sauron was.
absolutely.
So he
100%.
he doesn't take it, and he gets
It's funny to me too, where we were just talking about that too. Something else just entered my mind, especially with what I said about how Tolkien's works have influenced so much other. So when Isildur cut the ring from Sauron's hand and defeated Sauron, and Sauron disappeared or whatever. Okay, so this is because with the Ring of Power, yeah, and they talk about this nonstop. How the Ring of Power is of Sauron. He poured himself into it. So basically, the Ring of Power is Sauron's Horcrux.
yeah, that's not funny. That is hilarious.
I
When you
never
think
thought. I
about
just
it,
thought about that.
yeah, when you think about it that way, that is so funny.
Yeah, because we were talking about Harry Potter before the show too. So I was like, wow, that's his Horcrux.
Right, right. Uh, so we got now we got to get rid of this ring. It's got to get out of the Shire because if they come to the Shire, they're gonna just pretty much probably kill everybody there. So you got
Yep.
Frodo. We find out that Samwise Gamgee is dropping some eaves. We'll say,
Yeah, I was dropping no eaves. Samwise, who Tolkien himself called the chief hero of Lord of the
yeah,
Rings. Samwise is
yeah.
the real hero.
I mean, technically, if you think about it, if you watching all three of them to the end, Samwise might be the real hero.
Absolutely, because think about this too. This is what I always bring up. The ring corrupted everyone who touched it except Sam. Sam carried it for what you don't get this time frame in the movies, unless you really sit down and analyze it. So you're not understanding that this journey and the events that took place were years in the making. You know what I mean? It seems like it happens over a couple of weeks,
Mm-hmm.
but these were actually a couple of years that this happened. So Samwise carried the ring for easily 3 to 6 months without Frodo knowing it, and never had a problem. And then it held it up like I kept it safe for you. And, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It never even weighed him down because Sam was so superior to himself. Even you know what I mean? He was so pure and good that evil couldn't even touch him.
Well, I'm telling you, if they had done the movie series like we discussed earlier, 100% by the books, we would have not had a trilogy. we would have had a trilogy times 3. We would have had 9 movies probably.
No doubt. No
Drawing
doubt.
this out from beginning to end because they left a lot out and did, but still, even though they left a lot out of the books, they made an excellent movie version for people to follow and love.
I
And the books
cannot
are still
imagine
intact.
it being any better. I cannot imagine it being
I mean,
1% better.
he took the major characters, the major most important characters, and
Hmm.
me and you always bring up Tom Bombadil because Tom Bombadil was not
Right.
a part of the movies, but in the first quarter of the book, it's all about Tom Bombadil and what he's doing. They haven't even left the Shire yet, and it's
Yep.
about Tom Bombadil and his part of it in there. But that aside from it, when they do finally pick up and leave, it's him and Sam. They're leaving. They run into Merry and Pippin along the way, who are stealing vegetables from the farmer's garden again, and they end up
Hmm.
in the woods with each other, trying to get away and hide. But at that point, that's when one of the first riders arrive, and they're looking for
Right.
Frodo and the ring, and they go and hide. And you think he's
They got
got
to
him,
go to Buckberry Ferry.
yeah, you think he's got him sniffed out, and he's found him. He's right above him, looking, and he's like,
Hmm.
the ring can tell he's nearby, and it's causing Frodo to act crazy and stuff. And even the worms and the bugs from the ground. This is how visual it is. The bugs are so afraid of the wraith that's there, or they're escaping as quick as they can from where he's at. They don't want to
Hmm.
stay really near it. So they finally take off, and he's right there again. He finds them. They get caught up
Right.
under him, take off running. They hit the ferry, jump across, and realize there's another one 20 miles down. Well, now he turns around to go back, but 3 more cross in front of him. Now we got 4 of them there, 4 of the 9.
Right.
So where did they went to? Bree,
Yeah, they were going to
the Prancing Pony.
Prancing Pony and Bree,
Yeah, the Prancing Pony and Bree. They go there to
which is
meet.
actually the Wraiths are coming in the door, and the little Night Watch man is sitting there with his eyes closed, and Strider has him in the different room right now on the movie in the background.
All right, all right.
We're
So
actually at that point right now in the movie that I turned on before the
you
show.
you were there right there where we called it to. Just what's that's awesome. So they run there. They're supposed to meet Gandalf there. Gandalf's not there because Saruman has revealed his change in allegiance. Who's now partnered with Sauron now, and he's got Gandalf there prisoner where he can't get away.
Hmm.
So now he's what they refer to as Strider is there. They ask
Yes.
him, he's been keeping an eye on him, and they ask the bartender who the guy in the corner is. He calls him Strider. Um, One of those ranger types, real dangerous types.
The
And they end
Ranger
up
from the North.
so he ends up getting picked up by Strider, who is actually Aragorn, and taken to a room after he accidentally falls down. The ring flies out of his hand and falls on his finger perfectly, and he disappears. Uh,
Yes.
so he's basically laying out for them what is trailing them and how he should be scared because of what they are. And they set up a little
He
thing.
said you you draw far too much attention to yourself, Mr.
Underhill,
Underhill.
Mr.
Mr.
Underhill.
Underhill.
Yes. So fun scene there. They go in, they start stabbing at the bed, and there's nothing but pillows and blankets and stuff, and they're across the way looking from across at a different end, watching down, and they're making this awful noise, shrieking noise, and they jump awake. Except I think Frodo was already awake, sitting inside the bed, and he asked them about who they were. He said they used to be they used to be men,
Right.
lions and kings and everything, uh, and now they're just I think he called them ring wraiths, is what he called them.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes, they're wraiths. They used to be men, and now they're wraiths corrupted by the power of Sauron, or something like that.
I can't remember it. Ring wraith and Nazgul, same thing.
Okay, so the Nazgul is a place, and I think the Nazgul were also uh, no, I'm incorrect. I believe the Nazgul were actually those big those big lizard things that they were riding on, the flying things.
Okay,
I
okay.
think.
I'm not sure of that
I want
myself either.
Yeah,
So
I really don't remember of the
look it up.
Nazgul.
Look it up and see what you find from it.
I am in the process.
So I'll pick up from there. They go ahead and leave with Strider. He's going to take them out into the woods.
Okay, so they are I'm sorry, my bad. Nazgul is actually the black speech word for ring wraith. So actually, they are Nazgul, but the
Okay.
Nazgul is actually black speech, which is weird that they call them that so much in the show because when Gandalf spoke black speech, the time or two that he did, and the thing started shaking and all that. And then when Frodo saw the words, he said it looks like Elvish, but it's different. And he said that's because it's the black speech words which I will not utter here.
Right.
So it's strange that they would use the black speech so much.
Exactly. And that upcoming is one of my favorite parts in the movie. They've
Mm-hmm.
taken off with the Aragorn, and there's a little humor too. You got to appreciate the little subtle humor. I think it's Mary. Which one's no? Which one's the one that always gets in trouble all the time? Pippin?
That's
Or Mary?
Pippin. That's Pippin.
Oh yeah, Pippin.
Wait,
So
he's the one. He
Pippin,
got talking about second breakfast. What
yes.
about? yeah,
I do this.
yeah.
I do this all the time. I used to do this so much it annoyed people.
Yeah.
We get done.
He said,
and we're gonna go leave. I'll be like, okay, that was good, but what about second breakfast?
Elevensies, twosies,
afternoon tea, dinner.
yeah.
So, but anyway, they're taking off through there. And he's like, I don't think he knows about second breakfast. I'm sorry. Then the apple comes flying back, hits him in the head. He's got his apple. But they're taking off to this one place. I forget what they call the watch area. It used to be a place of importance. They had a watch set up for things going on.
Weathertop.
Weathertop, okay. And Aragorn, I guess, has gone to gather some stuff they may need for the night. While Frodo is falling asleep, the other goobers are making bacon and stuff out there, attracting attention, cooking and all this other stuff. And he said, what are you fools doing? And he's stomping out the fire like, well, we're just making some bacon and some tomatoes and all this stuff. And then you hear that shriek again. Like, uh-oh, they found him.
Yeah, they saw him. They found him.
This was to me, this was an awesome fight scene because these ring wraiths are supposed to be the most powerful thing out there coming for the ring, right? They're coming to get the nine are a powerful group of people. But Aragorn takes them on by himself practically. I don't know if the whole nine were there or not, but the point is
five. It was five of them.
There was at least, I would say there was at least 5 or 6 for sure.
Yeah, it was 5.
We got Frodo getting injured in it. He puts the ring on and tries to hide, but he realizes he can't hide from them that way. They see him still, and he gets stabbed while he's in that shadow world or whatever by the blade. And now he's destined now to turn into one of them. And,
yes, that was a Morgul blade.
So when they get to take him off, he gets to get Elvish medicine. He says, beyond my healing power. This brings up one of my favorite parts because Arwen has already met up with them out there. She has found Aragorn in the wild. You don't know it at first because all you hear is some woman sneaking up behind with a blade to his throat saying, what's this? A ranger without his blade?
Right.
Along those lines. Anyway, he goes and she's there. It's her. And she takes off with him to get him to her father. And one of my favorite scenes in the movie, and it's kind of a powerful scene to me, the way she's uttering the words at the river. She's at the river and she stops.
Right.
And they're like, give up the halfling she-elf. And she's like, if you want him, come and claim him, And they're like, she whips out her sword, holds it up, and they whip theirs out. And they're coming across the water. And she starts talking in Elvish around the water. And the way they make it sound where her voice, each verse is echoing over the other. And it gives
they got the echo and the reverb all in there.
It's got a powerful feel to it, And then the last part of it's got like a commanding look, and she looks up with her eyes like, like this is it right here, when she says it, boom. And all of a sudden you see the waters, the rapids coming around the corner.
And then they look like horses. That was so cool.
The horses coming out.
Everything they did. And see, the other beautiful thing about this too is the watchtower, high top, the watchtower of Enmansur was everything looked so grand. I think the watchtower was the first time in the movie, a high top or the watchtower, whichever one you want to call it. It's the first time where you got to truly see this really grand landscape. You know what I mean? Because they're atop the tower, and you're still seeing these beautiful grand landscapes. But I thought that was the first like super powerful. Like, wow, look at this! This is crazy because it's all tall in the air, and talking about the river, the way it turned into the horses. And then when they do go further in and go to the woodland elves realm, the cinematography and the way that they did this, and we were talking about Peter Jackson, his brilliance, and it's on everyone involved truly too, because, you think about, another fun fact. Did you know, that Aragorn, the man that played Eric, Viggo Mortensen, he took his horse during the 6 years they spent filming this movie.
Oh,
I
good
think it was
while. Something like
three to
that.
six, between 3 and 6 years.
It was a long
This
time.
man lived in the woods with his horse. Like the horse that he rides in this movie, that was like he took that horse, refused to stay in the hotels. I mean, like, he'd go in and do things, and go in and clean himself, whatever. But this man basically lived camping in the woods in order to truly get into character and get into, as we know, all the films were filmed for the most part in New Zealand. So to get in tune with the landscape and to get in tune with his horse and to get in the mindset and mind frame of his character and what he must be going through living out here, being this lonely ranger from the north, you know what I mean? And just like the commitment level that you have when Sam, we'll get to it in a second, I'm sure. Well, I know we will because it's part of the movie, but when Sam is running out, when Frodo's going to leave the fellowship and Sam goes running out into the water to get him, this dude cut his foot almost in half, like on a piece of glass in the river, and did not even stop. When Aragorn, I think it's the second movie, when Merry and Pippin, they're going after Merry and Pip, and the Uruk-hai have captured him. When he kicked the helmet, that scream was real. The man broke 2 of his toes when he kicked that helmet. Like everybody's commitment and the level of what it engrosses you. They got so into it that it pulls the watcher into it. So it's can't say enough about these movies, man.
To give you something else to run off on that right there, do you remember when before Bilbo leaves for the elves and everything, uh, Gandalf has arrived to talk to him about the party and everything, and he's turning around. He walks into the chandelier thing and puts it aside, turns around to walk away, and hits his head. Okay,
Yes.
that was not supposed to be in there. He wasn't supposed to hit his head.
Right.
It says Sir Ian McKellen banged his forehead against a beam accidentally, and Peter Jackson thought McKellen did a great job acting through the mistake, and so he kept it in because
Yeah.
it was perfect little humor, little aspect of humor, and he still acted through it as the professional that he is and everything, and
No
kept it
doubt. No
going.
doubt.
So stuff
And
like
not
that,
only that, and see that's another thing too. The way that they did, how the hobbits and the people when they were up close, a lot of it was CGI, but when they were up close, what they did was a lot of the size difference perspective wise was done in camera. So it was done with someone being in the foreground and someone being in the background, but then both cameras being put together to make it something that's commonplace now. And back then it was revolutionary because they used the camera magic to make this happen. And I think that's one of the reasons that the effects stand up so well today. Alluded to that earlier, but it's because it's all done in a more realistic type of way. And then like your Uruk-hai, that's not CGI, that's people in costumes,
right?
And you could say like Tim Curry in Legend as the devil. That's still one of the very best devils I've ever seen ever on the screen, ever.
So when we get past all this right here with Arwen taking out the riders that are there for him, the next thing we know, we've got Frodo waking up in Rivendell. What was your first thoughts of Rivendell when you seen it on screen for
Oh my gosh.
all its glory and everything? You read it in the book about what it's supposed to look like in your mind, but when
Right.
you see it on camera, the way they made how Rivendell looked and appeared, it can be a place where you can see yourself wanting to be.
Yeah. And see that, and I said a while ago that I felt like that when they got to the Watchtower, that was like the first, you know, grandiose scale where you were like, wow, look at this. I think when they got to the woodland realm, it was the first breathtaking moment because it was just like, wow, it was awe inspiring. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
couldn't believe that it looked like that. Yeah, you're right. Like it was like, like Fairyland or Fern Gully come to life or something, man. It was just
Right.
amazing.
Right. And we were talking about people hurting themselves a while ago. I'm looking here. Liv Tyler accidentally stabbed herself in the right thigh while filming If You Want Him, Come and Claim Him during that scene.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Since the footage was featured in bloopers and outtakes in the movie.
Oh, I missed that one. It was all everybody. They were all so committed. It was crazy. They said they had. I remember that they had. The extras a lot of the extras were natives from New Zealand, and they just the towns, the New Zealand as a country were committed to making this epic film creation happen too. So I mean, it was just they were all so accommodating and passionate about making this thing happen like they did.
Did you see the group tattoo that they got to commemorate the movie with each other?
Yeah, but I don't remember what it was.
So the people of the Fellowship, they got the Elvish symbol for 9 as a tattoo,
Heck yeah.
and Peter Jackson received an Elvish 10.
That's awesome.
So we're at Rivendell now. We're getting the visual of Rivendell. It's awesome. It's breathtaking. It's all this good stuff they make it out to be. And we have to we go through some of this stuff.
Rivendell. I thought they went to the Woodland Realm. I thought Rivendell. Did they go to Rivendell first? Oh no, that's right, Rivendell.
Yeah.
So I was backwards. I was thinking of the Woodland Realm. The Woodland Realm comes after because that's where Galadriel's at. Rivendell is like where all the waterfalls are.
Right, the waterfalls where you got Elrond and all these people there.
I think that Rivendell was the most amazing thing that they did, like as far as a landscape. I think Rivendell was the most breathtaking and most beautiful thing that they did throughout the entire trilogy.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely nice. I like the setup and how it looked and everything. And you got Gandalf talking with Elrond, and Gandalf's hoping Elrond will help with the ring and take the ring. He wants to get it out of the hands of Frodo as quick as he can, basically. But Elrond tells him he cannot do this. This is not our problem this time around. We're not doing this again. We're about to leave this area. What will you do when we're not here anymore?
Yeah, because they were getting ready to go to the Undying Lands.
Right. So they're going to put it in the according to Gandalf, it needs to go to the men. Men must take us now and do this stuff. And he's like, well, men aren't strong. They can't handle or whatever is what Elrond's trying to say. But he said there is one that could unite them.
That and men failed last time with the Isildur.
Right. They're corrupted more easily.
Yeah, when they say the strength of men, they're not talking about, just for our listeners, they're not talking about physical strength. They're talking about the strength of character and the strength to be able to make the decision to resist that temptation and do what needs to be done.
Right. So he tells them basically they're going to have to bring everybody in on this. Everybody's going to come in, and decisions going to have to be made on who's going to take care of it. Because it's not going to be the elves, basically.
Right.
So now we bring in all these people from other areas. You have Boromir coming in, representing Gondor. You've got a couple of other humans. I don't know who they are or where they're from, unless they came with him. I don't know. But you got 3, I think it was 3 dwarves. There's Gimli, there was Glowing, and one other.
No, it wasn't Glowing because Glowing's dead by then. Gimli is the son of Glowing.
Is he dead by then? I thought he was one of the ones that was with him.
I don't think he was. Gimli, son of Glowing. He may not. He may have been with him. I thought Glowing had passed by then.
Let's see. Let's look it up real quick. Who were the dwarves that show up at Rivendell?
I love how later so the Hobbit come before the Lord of the Rings, the books. Okay. Right. But we all know the trilogy the movie trilogy came after. I love when Glowing is in their fellowship, their company, and he's showing pictures of his son Gimli. And so he actually meets, he's hanging out with, why can I never remember his name? Not Aragorn, Orlando Bloom's character. I know it like I know the back of my hand and I can never remember it, but Legolas. Legolas, like Legolas saw a picture of Gimli when he was a baby. So like, I thought that was really neat how they did that.
Well, for what I'm looking here, they're talking about the 3 dwarves are surviving members of Bilbo's original expedition to the Lonely Mountain in The Hobbit. It is because of them that Glowing has come to Rivendell to be a part of the Council of Elrond.
Okay, so Glowing is there.
So in the Mines of Moria, we found out that Balin, whatever his name, he's dead.
Yep, Balin, yeah.
Yeah, he's dead. He's no longer there. And it says the snaky tentacle thing at the western gates of Moria killed Oin.
Mm-hmm.
Like his
That was
name
the one he
is.
pulled into the water. Yep, that was the one that he pulled into the water.
And Ori's fate is unknown, but as he is the one who wrote the Chronicle of the Deaths of the two last sentences, we cannot get out. The end comes. They are coming. They're pretty sure he died in Moria as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, so Gloin was there. He was one of them. I thought he was.
Okay.
Here's something that says Dane, King of the Undermountain, King under the mountain, Dwarf Lord of the Lonely Mountain, Stronghold. Um, he became king under the mountain when the death of Thorin Oakenshield at the end of The Hobbit. Is he one of the people there? Dane sends Gloin to Rivendell to warn Bilbo that he is sought by the enemy and to learn it may be but he desires the ring. Okay. So I don't guess he's one of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're going
So
through all these
anyway,
little dwarf names. It's not important who they all were, but we had definitely Gimli there. You got Legolas there. You got Boromir's there. Aragorn's already there. You got the hobbits that are there. You got Gandalf and all this stuff. They're all fighting over who should take the ring because Boromir wants to take it and wield it against the enemy. And Aragorn's
right.
trying to say, you cannot, none of us can wield this ring. It only enters to Sauron himself.
Mm-hmm.
They start fighting amongst each other on who's going to do what. And, you got Frodo stepping up going, I'll take it. This is stupid. I'll just take it. And then all of a sudden everybody gets all teary eyed and heartfelt, like, whoa.
Yeah, he said, though I do not know the way. And there again, the camera shot where Gandalf just, there even Gandalf's over there yelling and shouting, and then he just the look that comes over his face and the way he just relaxed, and then the humbleness and love, in the way he turned and looked. It was just, man, it's like every single scene in this movie is powerful.
It does feel that way. And you finally see them. He says, I do not know the way. I'll need someone to show me or tell me. And then you got, Aragorn stepping up first. I'll protect you. You have my sword. And you got Gimli. You got Legolas. You got my bow. And then you get Gimli come up here and you have my axe. And then, of course, Sam comes running out of nowhere. It's like, well, you can't keep me from going, ha ha. Like,
yeah. And then Merry and Pip run out too. Well, if they're going, we're going. He's like, yeah, indeed. It seems like Elrond said, indeed. Yeah. It seems like you're impossible to separate even when he is summoned to a secret council and you are not.
Right. So he looks around and goes, 9 people, a fellowship. We have a fellowship of the ring. It's the name and everything there. So they're going to take off and go with it. From this point, there's not a lot of the movie left. They're leaving.
Unless you're watching the extended version, because from this point in the extended version, you've still got about 3, probably about 2 hours. And that happens probably, I would say, about an hour and 45 minutes in. Hang on, I'll tell you exactly where it's happened since I've got it pulled up on my television. And I do always watch the extended version. So yeah, you're about an hour and 45 minutes in, and the extended version is 3 hours and 48 minutes long.
All right. So, but if we're going with the basic right now, if we're just going with that, they got one more major stop to make in the movie, and that's them in the Woodland Realm. I think it was, wasn't it? Where where Holdir finds him.
Yes.
And they're Aragorn's like, we're seeking protection or we need help or something. I thought it was funny because Gimli's telling the hobbits, be very careful. There's supposed to be a witch living here, and she's very powerful, and they say she does things or something. But don't worry, I've got the ears of something and the eyes of something else.
And then they're surrounded.
He turns around, everybody's there, and there's an arrow right in his face between his eyes, and Holder's like, the dwarf breathes so loud we could have shot him in the dark.
Right. I do believe it may be because it's the extended version, but I thought that they went through. I could have sworn they went through the Mines of Moria before that happened.
Was it the Mines of Moria before Rivendell or after? No, you're right.
It was after Rivendell.
No, I'm sorry, you're right. They left Rivendell. They were. I'm so sorry.
Because they were going through Godric's Pass, and then the Ravens came, and they. Yeah.
So they went up the mountain instead, and then Saruman put danger on the mountain at that point on them.
Yes, he was chanting and everything, and then all the big avalanche happened, so they were forced to go through the Mines of Moria.
Right. Well, actually, when it come to that, he was like, "We'll let the ring bearer decide," is what Gandalf said.
Yeah. That's right. Yep.
He didn't want to go to the mines because he knew what lied in the mines.
Right.
He didn't want to go; it was too dangerous a path to go. And plus, he feared already that Balin was gone from
Yeah.
what he had understood. So, of course, Frodo makes the worst decision ever. We will go through the mines. So here we go. We're going through the mines now. They get there and they fight off that tentacle thing as well. When they finally get in, they get there and
And
find out.
then they have to say, "Speak, friend." That was one of the things I loved when they were "Speak, friend, and enter," and they spend seemingly hours on top of hours trying to figure it out. And
Yeah,
then Frodo was like, "What's the Elvish word for friend?" And he's like, "Melon." And then the doors open.
yeah, right.
It's like,
It's
just
a
say
riddle.
friend.
It's a riddle.
Yeah, it's a riddle. Just say
So,
friend.
they find out. You're right. I can't believe I missed. I completely overshot this because that's like one of the best fights in the movie. Well, I can't say every fight to me is the best fight in the movie, but they get in there
Yeah,
and Pippin, leave it to Pippin, two little
to knock
pinch,
the.
pinch this little piece off the helmet or something, and the helmet and the head falls off straight down into the well, and it pulls the rest
And
of the armor down. Then it
makes
pulls this weight
all
down. Then
kinds
it
of
pulls
noise.
a bucket down. Then it pulls
Yeah,
everyone down, and then when it's done, he's like, "Sorry, didn't mean that." And Gandalf's so mad. He's like, "Fool of a duke! Next time, throw
you're
your
right.
stick out there and be done with it." So,
Yeah,
but now you start hearing the noises. Here they come. So Boromir runs to shut the door, and an arrow whizzes by his head into the door. They say he's like they got a cave troll with them. Here we go.
yeah.
Pretty good fight. That's when you realize during that part that um, Frodo's got the Mithrin, the Mithril,
Mithril.
the Mithril vest on because they thought he should have been killed at that point, but it didn't penetrate the Mithril. So they go
Right.
from there. They keep going. Then they run into the Balrog. Uh, that's
Balrog.
that's the main reason why he
Yeah.
didn't want to go through there. He
Right,
knew
because of
he
the
knew
Balrog.
he knew it was there. He did not want to go. But now they face it. You can see the look on his face. You talk about like the powerful looks and all. He's got the look where he's got his eyes shut. And he's his head's down, like no, no, no. And he looks up and he's like, "We got to run," And they take
Yeah.
off. So we get the iconic phrase there for the movie where he stops at the bridge and the others are gone, and the Balrog is there waiting to come after him, and he's telling him who he is, the wielder of this and that, and you cannot, you shall not pass. That's
Hmm.
what he says. He stomps the thing, and he stabs it into the ground and holds tight with it. And as soon as he steps out there on the thing, it gives way with his weight, and the Balrog falls down. You think it's done with. When I first saw it at the theater, I was like, "Ooh, oh, that was cool." He's like,
Yeah.
Gandalf fighting this big thing, and he takes the first hit of the sword when he tells him he's the wielder of some flame thing, of the flame of Balrog or something like that. And then does that thing where he falls down. I'm thinking this is cool. And last, all of a sudden, you see the whip come back up and grab him by the ankle. You're like, no, not Gandalf. When you first watch the
I
first,
know.
because
And
you're
he's
so
like,
into
"Fly, you
Gandalf.
fools."
Yeah, you're so into Gandalf, and you lose him right there with a lot more left to go. After they leave there,
Yeah.
they go seek protection in the woodland realm. It's after that.
Yeah. So just a quick stop right there too. One of the things, as far as the lore is concerned, one of the things that I loved about that too is when he said, you shall not pass." Well, I'm the keeper of. I forgot what he said, but when he stomped it, he didn't stomp it. He slammed his staff into the bridge there, and he said, "Flame of Udun." So the flame of Udun, Udun was Morgoth's oldest fortress in the north. So the flame of Udun was the fortress. So that's where the
Oh,
Balrogs. That's
well,
where Morgoth created the Balrogs to come from.
here it is, right here. The quote, he says, "You cannot pass. I am a servant of the secret fire, wielder of the flame of Anor. The dark fire
Yeah,
will
the
not
flame of
avail.
Anor.
Yeah, the dark fire will not avail you, flame of Udon. Go back to
Yeah,
the
and then
shadow." Then he says, "You shall not pass." And he slams it down.
yeah. And so
That
there were lots of Balrogs, and that Balrog was Durin's Bane, who was nowhere near even close to the strongest Balrog ever either. But Durin's Bane, I thought that was cool too because you hear the name Durin in the movie a few times, and what was it? He was named based on shoot, I cannot remember it. It's like something about killing king because Durin was a king or a place, and I don't remember what it was. But that particular Balrog, when I think that's what it was, he was the king in Khazad-dûm when they awoken, when they woke up the Balrog, when they dug so deep that they woke the Balrog that he destroyed Durin, and so that's why he was called Durin's Bane. I think that's what it was.
Okay.
I thought that was a cool piece of lore because I played, dude. I'm so into Tolkien, man. I played the video games and all this stuff. So each Shadow of Mordor, you fight Balrogs in that video game, and each Balrog has its own story, and it aligns with Tolkien's lore too. So it's pretty cool.
I always wondered if the games were fun to play or not.
Oh, they're so good.
I'm going to look into those, actually. I'm going to have to do that.
They're really fun. And what they do with Shelob in them is great, too, because Shelob, the Great Spider, which I think we'll also get to in this movie. No,
that's Two Towers.
No. That's Two Towers, yeah.
I think it's Two Towers.
It is, because this movie ends with Sam and Frodo in the boat, and Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli running off to get Pippin and Merry.
Right.
Because that's what we'll get to it. I'll bring it up when we get to that part of the movie. But one of my favorite part of the movie is during that point.
Okay. So we're almost there though. But I get a question for you. When they go to the woodland realm there where Galadriel is it only in the extended version? And I just watched this earlier, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I was playing my game while I was listening to the movie.
Right.
So I didn't pay attention and look on the screen. I'll tell you the extended, or did she give them each something in the regular version of it without the extended?
She did, because she did give them each something, but I don't think the scene was as long as it was. And to be 100% honest, I have not seen the theatrical version since I watched it in the movies. Like I only watched the extended. So I'm not positive, but it seems like they would have to, because the leaves of Lorien do not idly fall. And then she, of course, gave Frodo the doggone light.
What I'm thinking is maybe she in the regular before the extended, she only they only show her giving the.
I think you're right, because they don't show Gimli asking for a lock of her hair that he talks about later.
He got a lock of her hair. She gave Sam rope.
Right.
And then I think Aragorn got a dagger.
I don't remember what she gave Aragorn. No, she didn't give Aragorn anything. She didn't give Aragorn anything because she saw he had the Evening Star. He was wearing the Evening Star. Yeah. She said, "I cannot give you anything greater than what's already been given to you." Oh, I just got cold chills. Yeah. I just got cold chills. She gave Legolas something. I think she might have given Legolas the dagger because of the people, his being her. Legolas is technically related to her distantly.
Yeah,
she's his great aunt or something like that.
Yeah. I don't remember what she did for Boromir either. I remember though that Boromir was really touched by the place they went to. He had said he would not find no peace there, but there's been a voice in his head, and it's telling him that even now there's hope. And he said, "Hope is something my people have not had for a long time."
Yes.
So she's in all their heads, talking to each one of them individually, as well as talking out loud or something. She's also talking to Frodo, mentally, like, Frodo Baggins, the one who has seen the eye.
Right.
So she shows him a thing where this is what has.
And that's the thing too, with Boromir turning on him, and then later, in the Two Towers and stuff, when Éomer, not Éomer, his brother's name started with an F. But anyway, when his brother is talking about him and how he's so valiant and this and that, when they came out of the Mines of Moria, and Aragorn was telling him, "Get him up, we got to get moving," and he was compassionate toward him. Boromir was, and he's like, "Give them a moment for whatever's sake,
For pity's sake.
It does, for pity's sake, yeah. So it does show how even though he kind of, you think for a minute that like Boromir sucks. He's the bad guy because he's been talking trash in the beginning. You already know he wants to use it, and then he turns on them. And so, but you get those little clues that he is compassionate and for the cause and everything too throughout.
Right, but like they said, the race of
The
men,
ring powers corrupts.
right, and he was probably the most easily corrupted because he sees it as a powerful weapon to use against the enemy. So
Right.
it just corrupts him that much faster. It seems like.
Yeah.
So they leave the area. Now they're gone. They're going on their way back on trip again. Uh, they've gone to the area where the two kings, I guess, are pointing out toward each other, and Aragorn's like, "Long have I waited to put my eyes on the kings of whatever."
Mm-hmm.
And they go through there. They get all I forget why they pull. Do they go ahead and put the boats off to the side? Because this is their land.
Yeah, because there's right. They have to walk from there because there's a big old waterfall. They can't go across it.
Oh,
After the kings, it's a huge waterfall.
Okay, so they get off of there. Now, Frodo has disappeared. He's off walking around. This is where it gets interesting because Boromir now is after talking with him, and Frodo already knew. It's like he was foretold this is going to happen. Basically, he's going to try and take the ring from you, and he was weary of being out there around him. And sure enough, Boromir tries to take the ring from him, and Frodo goes invisible with it on and takes off. And now Boromir realizes the big mistake he's made. The ring is not near him or upon him, and he's thinking a little clearer now. He knows what he just did was wrong, and he's trying to get him to come back. He's trying to apologize.
Right.
They didn't mean it, but the ring's already taken him. If he comes back around him, it's just going to do it again because now he's taking control of him. Aragorn figures out he's gone and missing, and he notices that Boromir's not around either. So he takes off to go find where he's at, and he does. And of course, they have their little speech with each other, a little talk. The ring's taking Boromir, and he's like, "Where's the ring?" And he goes for his sword, and I guess Frodo's tired at this point. He don't want to deal with it. He goes, "Would you destroy it?" And he hands it out to him, and he's looking at it. And it's like he's eyeballing it, like you're wondering for a second, how's it going to affect Aragorn now? Is he going to turn on like Boromir did, or what will happen? And he kneels down and closes his hand up and tells him, "I would have gone to the fires of Mordor with you." He realizes at this point that Frodo has to go by himself, and he's leaving. He knows he's leaving. He's made up his mind. Okay, I understand. You have to go. I would have went with you to the end. And suddenly he looks down and sees that the sword is glowing.
Sting is glowing.
Sting is glowing. He tells him, he goes, "Run, for the run." He goes, "What?" And he looks at the thing. He goes, "Run." So he sends him off down there, and then you see the big, goofy looking Uruk-hai with the hand on his face coming around the corner with the other orc. And you got Aragorn just getting all bad on us all of a sudden, slinging that sword up in front of his face and like walking at him like I got no shame. I'm walking right at you right now. Let's go.
That's what I was about to say. My absolute bar none favorite scene in this movie is when he turns around and it's like it's this pure acceptance of I'm not saying that in his mind it made you feel like he thought I'm gonna die here, but it's just this pure acceptance and this almost sorrowful for what he's about to have to do. You know what I mean? He just turns around like the way he turns around with the swords in his hand, and the camera pans back, and you see all of these Uruk-hai coming out of the forest, and that moment. Now I'm not even talking about the fight. I'm talking about just when he comes around the corner.
Yes,
the way he looks, man, is one of the most bad A looks ever. It's just it's a blank look. You know what I mean? It's just like you're talking about when he holds the sword up, and he's just like. Oh, that's just so doggone, man. This is like, dude, that's
the sword is perfectly going up in the middle of his face like this. And the point is right up here or something, and you can see the look on his face, like it's determined, like, I know I might die, but I'm gonna take about 50 of you with me.
Exactly, man.
He's like Arnold in Commando without the big machine gun, He's
no doubt.
He's like Captain America in the final Avengers movie with Thanos in it, Infinity War, where he's like he sees all of them coming, But he tightens up that shield one last time. And he starts stumbling toward all of them, like, you know what? I can do this all day long.
That's it, man.
And he's got that
That's just
determination.
so
So I mean,
incredible.
it's just
There's one other scene with Aragorn that is akin to that I love, and it's when in the Two Towers when he returns to Rohan, when they think he's the war dragged him over the cliff,
right,
and
right.
the way he opens the door and he comes in and his hair, man, it's just so dude cool, man. It's just like that's incredible.
One of my one of my friends from once before, he said just the way Aragorn's character portrays himself as just this big stud of a warrior, and he's like the way that he
Yeah,
does the sword thing, like you're talking about coming back from the falling over the cliff and burst through the doors, and he's like, man, he goes, I got a man crush on him.
for real, because I mean, he's the embodiment of manliness because he's not a macho man. It's not macho manliness. He's a total BA, and he's not even aware of it. He's just like, we're gonna do what we got to do. You know what I mean? And
Right.
it's dude, yeah, and he is like that. You through the movies, you think he can just like there ain't nobody that's gonna take him with a sword. Like even you don't even really think even Legolas would do nothing with him. He gets mad at when he said when Legolas was talking actually in the Two Towers. He said they're gonna die here, and then he said he stopped speaking Elvish to him. He said, "Then I'll die as one of them."
Yeah.
And then Legolas was like, "Whoa, dog!" You know what I mean? Like he was like backing up, like, like, all right, man, it's all good.
There's a thing I read in here a while ago where the trainer, the sword trainer for the movie,
Hmm.
veteran swordmaster Bob Anderson called Viggo Mortensen the best swordsman I've ever trained.
Yeah,
And
like this
he
dude commits, man. He's unreal.
and during the movie, everywhere Viggo Mortensen carried the sword with him to stay in character. As
Yeah,
crazy as that sounds, he did that. And so I mean,
he's a straight method actor. That's all I'm saying. He literally lived in the woods, like straight up.
well, he played a character I'll never forget in the movie. Like I said, I was always a Star Wars nut. I told you before, the first three Star Wars, and
Yep,
then the prequels come along, and I'm so into all of them except for maybe Phantom Menace for the most part.
yep.
But I mean, nothing could overtake that. I always said, Lord of the Rings come along, that's my trilogy right there.
Right? No kidding.
And then they done couldn't put the darn Hobbit out, and I was like, man, maybe this is my trilogy now. But no, because
No,
there's no Aragorn, there's no
the
Gimli.
Hobbit is awesome, and I love the Hobbit. The Hobbit, they did. I feel like they did just as good with the Hobbit as they did with this.
Yes, they did.
But I still don't. And what's funny is in the books. So I read the books because of my mother when I was young. I didn't have to read them for school, but I read The Hobbit because of my mom, and I read them in order. So I read The Hobbit, and then I read Lord of the Rings.
Right.
And even today, I like the Hobbit book better than the Lord of the Rings trilogy book, for sure, hands down. I love the story, the trolls, all the stuff that they go through. It's just to me as a childhood memory, I think the Hobbit is a more fun book than Lord of the Rings. But the movies, the Lord of the Rings is so powerful and impactful that the Hobbit kind of it overshadows the Hobbit on the not so much the scale of the grandioseness, but the story, uh, the depth of the story. I think is more.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, so the fights ensuing, you've got Aragorn being the bad man that he is. He's taking these guys out right enough coming at him, climbing the stairs, taking them out with the swords, kicking them off of it. Then you see the rest of them coming through, and they're like the guy yells out, "Find the halflings." He
Hmm.
knows where they're going, so he dives off into the crowd of them. At this point, this should be it for him. He's going to dive off into a crowd of the Urukai and start taking them down. And so, luckily, unless he's seen them coming while he was on top, he may have, and maybe while he jumped down there. All of a sudden, as he dives on top of them, here comes Legolas and Gimli around the corner. Axes swinging. You got arrows flying. All
Right.
of them taking people out. You got Legolas getting all bad all of a sudden with two short swords, slicing and dicing and spitting.
Oh yeah.
Gimli doing his thing with the axe, blocking, smacking it back, cutting across. All this good stuff going on, and then you hear, well, of course, it switches off back to Merry and Pippin running, they distracted the ones coming down, making them think they're the halflings.
Uh-huh.
So Frodo can
And
lead
then
them.
that's where we roll into the death of Boromir, who
But
did not go
Boromir,
out like a punk.
no, shows his true self too. I mean, he's there for the
Yeah.
group. He said he would swear his allegiance to them to make this happen. The will of Gondor will make this happen, And the two there are in danger of losing their lives. They can't take it from themselves. He comes out, stops the one guy from swinging the axe down on him, kills him, takes a few more out, starts blowing the horn. And then he goes back to them, and you're like, Aragorn's like, it's the horn of Gondor. Boromir.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're taking off, going the best they can. They're in the middle of all the Uruk-hai running too, though, so they're having to fight them off while they're running. And they tell Aragorn to just go. Legolas like, go. We got this. Go. And so
Right.
he's trying to get to where he can get to him. And by the time he gets there, it's too late because now he has already taken 3 arrows and fallen. But before the
And
Uruk-hai
that's the thing about
hit him, Aragorn pops out and knocks him down and ensues a fight with him.
Right. And that's the thing too. That's why I said he didn't go out like no punk. Because them doggone arrows, dude, those things were as big as your thumb. Like them ain't no normal arrows that he gets filled up with. He's taking some shots. And
Right.
the first 2 arrows he was still fighting? Like the first one knocked him off his feet. He got up swinging his sword. And then the second one hit him. And he's on his knees swinging the sword. And then the third one hit. Like this dude takes 3 arrows, man. And he's still going hard.
Since I just watched it today, I can tell you how this went. He takes the first one in the shoulder above the heart, basically.
Yeah.
A little bit lower, he'd been dead.
Didn't it knock him off that one knocked him flat off his feet though, didn't it?
It didn't quite knock him off his feet technically, but I mean,
okay.
He gets that one hit right there, and he's still swinging the sword and killing people around him. After a brief second to catch his breath, he realizes his second arrow been hit. The second arrow comes in and it catches him under his heart area in a rib cage area toward the bottom, and it's
so like a lung shot then. So he took a lung shot basically.
We could basically say that, yeah. And he's right there. Then so he goes down on the knee right there at one point with that one, but still takes blocks a sword strike, comes up, knocks it aside, comes up with the sword and swings back down, takes that one out. Takes a few more out and still blowing the horn basically. They got the last one hits him. When the last one hits him, he just drops to 2 knees. And as he drops to 2 knees, an Uruk-hai comes to him. He still blocks it, parries it, slices him, and sticks his sword down in him as he's coming down on top of him, basically.
Yeah, and then that's when the dude with the white face walks up on him.
Yeah, that's practically it right there, what he can do.
We're talking about sapling trees going into this dude, man. These arrows are big.
They are big. And so he's done what he can do. He can't do nothing else. Merry and Pippin try to run with their swords at him. They just pick him up and throw him over their shoulders and run off with him. The one guy stops. He's about to kill him. Like I said, he's going to put an arrow right in his face. And here comes Aragorn.
Yeah.
Now they have a little fight. Now there's 2 different scenes for this.
Oh, really?
You've got them in the fight and the extended fight. In the regular fight, he takes a dagger and stabs the Uruk-hai through the leg.
Right.
In the regular version, the Uruk-hai pulls it out, and he takes it and he slings it at Aragorn, who knocks it down with his sword. In the extended cut, the Uruk-hai licks the blade.
Yes.
Before
that's the one yeah.
Yes, he licks. So just to show you how tough and gory he is, he licks the blade and throws it.
And not only that, when Aragorn stabbed him, he cut one arm off, and then he stabbed him through the middle of his body, like his heart. And the Uruk-hai like grabbed the sword and started pulling himself toward him, like snarling.
Yeah, and it shoved him out.
Yeah.
But when he shoved him out, he swings around and beheads him.
Yeah, did that spinning move.
Yeah, so I mean, he's just completed his I've been bad today. This is my last. I guess the rest are gone. So he goes to Boromir and talks to him. Boromir gives him the speech and everything, how he would follow him, his brother, his king, and all this good stuff.
There's an important part of that too that we've missed throughout this entire conversation was the fact that Aragorn was shunning that responsibility. He was turning his back on that because he was fearful of the weakness in his blood because he's a direct descendant of Isildur. So
Right.
we didn't bring that up. So that's why he is the one. He's the king. He's the true king. And Boromir, he kind of not downplayed it, but he kind of discredited it. You know what I mean? And they kind of brought that up a little bit in the earlier part of the movie. And then I don't know if it happened in the theatrical version, because like I said, it's been so long since I watched it, but I know in the extended cut, there's a scene where Aragorn is by the shards of Narsil, which is the blade that struck the ring from Sauron's hand. And Boromir was looking at it, and he was all like kind of marveling over it until he saw Aragorn. And then when he saw him, he said, "It's just a relic of a weak." I forgot what he said, but anyway, he set the shard back down, and it fell off. And Aragorn got up and picked it up. That was a real poignant scene as well, showing Aragorn's respect for his past and for his legacy that he's supposed to fulfill. But then, so that's what the importance of the speech between Boromir and Aragorn.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're basically at the end of the movie at this point. They're on their separate ways now. Sam has walked out in the water, and even though he can't swim and about to drown, he's got to
which is where he cut his foot.
Where he cut his foot. Yep. He gets pulled up into the boat. He tells him, he said that Gandalf told me, "Don't you lose him, Samwise Gamgee," and I don't mean to, Mr. Frodo.
Right.
This is how it's going to be, regardless.
So, you can't go nowhere without me.
So the two of them take off. You've got Legolas.
That's another thing. That's another thing in the movie. That was the one gripe that I had, but I understand why they did it. But it kind of pulls me out of it a little bit, and I think they use that quite a bit now. The method that they used to film that underwater scene, they had fans blowing on them, and in this case, it's like an overlay. So they're not underwater. They're actually, there's fans blowing on them to make the flow look the way it does. So and I noticed that immediately. I remember when I first watched the movie in the theaters, I was like, that looks weird, man. But yeah, so they're not. No one's actually they're in the scenes that are filmed underwater. They're not actually filmed underwater. But he crawls back up soaking wet. So I thought that was kind of funny. Because you can't. I think Peter Jackson explained it. They tried it with underwater cameras at first, but as he's falling and he's reaching up and he's looking up, they couldn't get the emotional part of it or the feeling out of it that they wanted, because the clothes didn't. As he was sinking, the clothes and his hair didn't look right. I guess.
Right. Well, this is pretty much the end of the movie. We got nothing else much to go on. They show them going their separate ways. The big three, Gimli, Legolas, Aragorn. They're like, we failed. What do we do? All stuff. And Aragorn's like, we haven't failed as long as we stay true to each other and we don't let Merry and Pippin die a torturous death.
Right. So see, he looked across. He was like, it was like too. He was sitting there, like, adjusting his armbands or whatever, gauntlets, whatever you call them, and like he looked across the river and saw Merry and Pip. I mean, not Merry and Pip. Sam and Frodo, and he told them they're gone now. They're gone.
Yeah, well, he knew
before he said that.
Gone. He knew they had to be gone. He had to let them go. That's all. He just wanted to let them go. But they're going to go rescue the other two to make sure they're safe. And this is going to lead us up into the Two Towers. I started watching the Two Towers earlier and I stopped. I'll probably finish it for the night's over with now that I've started. But
heck yeah.
I really
that's good. You're gonna love that too, because do you remember they're running and like Gimli's like, he said, I'm wasted on cross country. I'm wasted on cross country. We dwarves are very dangerous over short distances. Yeah. We dwarves are natural sprinters. I was that guy too. Is it John Reyes Davis? Is that his name?
Davies.
That plays Gimli?
Davies.
What's that?
John Reyes Davies or Reyes Davies.
John Reyes Davies. Okay, yeah. That dude, I remember him from so much too. Do you remember he was in that show Sliders? Yeah.
He was a professor in Sliders. He was the guy that Indy always went to in Indiana Jones. That was with the little
turban thing, topaz hat, whatever they call it.
Yep,
the like the Shriners wear.
that was him. That was him. Uh, some interesting things about the movie. We always go on these things here, and I put it off till right now. I
Yeah.
want to go here. I want to just bring this up how incredible this movie itself was. And you can picture if this movie did this, what do you think the entire franchise did? Because this movie here,
Holy cow.
estimated budget to make this movie was $93 million with the effects and
Yeah.
everything, and the location, the filming. Opening weekend, U.S. and Canada, $47,211,490. The gross of U.S. and Canada, $316,115,420, and the gross worldwide of this movie, $898,204,420. I mean, it's close to $1 billion at this point.
Off of that movie.
2 hours and 58-minute runtime for the original release, not the
Hmm.
extended. Uh, I mean, and people loved it. 3 hours of sitting in the theater, and I would have sat for six.
Yeah, we can. I remember I took so with my mom being the one that got. I remember this like it was yesterday, man. With my mom being the one that got me into the books and into Tolkien to begin with. My mom is actually. I give her credit. She's responsible for my love of stories. You know what I mean? Coming up, us coming up in the '80s and all.
Yeah.
We didn't have games like we have now and this and that, but we and on top of that, we were poor, so it was all about books and stories and this and that. And so I took her to see it, and we came out of the theater, man. Me, my mom, my dad, my wife at the time, we were just like all of us, like, oh my god, that was amazing, but my butt hurts so bad.
I will tell you, and I don't think she listens to this podcast, but my wife at the time was big on these movies when she was younger. She read the books and everything. Same with the
Hmm.
Harry Potter stuff. And I was the same fool on both of them going in. I said, I don't know if I want to watch it or not. That don't look like it'd be that good, you know? I mean, it's just
Yeah.
I mean, just looking at the picture and hearing about her describe it to me, I said that just doesn't sound that good. You know, someone's going to take a ring and go high or take it across country and throw it in the mountain or something. I mean, it don't sound good. Well, this
Right.
we walked out of Fellowship of the Ring, and I just looked at her and I said, I won't go back and watch it again.
Heck yeah.
That was
Heck yeah.
awesome. She's like, got this gloating look like, told you so.
Told you so. Man, we even
Same-
had. Do you remember Burger King? I've been saying I'm gonna get on eBay and get them again because I lost them
I
through
had
the years of
I
moving
had
and
two
stuff.
of
But do you
them.
remember Burger?
I
Did
had
you?
two of
I
them.
had all four. I waited on the release date. I had the release dates coming out, so I got me a set and my mother a set of the goblets. Yeah, the
I'm
goblets that
I
lit
am
up.
going to pick them back up again. I will.
I'm going to as well. You can get them. You can get them for a fair price on eBay right now.
Yeah, because they're
I was
not
looking them up.
they're not really, really big on collectors right now as far as
No,
that goes. A lot of people love the movie, but Lord of the Rings isn't a popular enough thing to where it drives up the buying cost of things for collections.
right,
It's
right.
gonna be something. It's
That's
gonna
a
be
niche
something
thing.
really, really big and important. Like let's say you got a replica sword of Sting, and you got
Right.
an autograph
And
on it from
see,
Elijah Wood or something.
and you can still get those even today. You can get really, really nice ones, but the original company that did them, that was licensed by the movie at the time, those are the ones that are worth big money, and you cannot buy them from United. It's called United Cutlery, and
Yeah,
United Cutlery doesn't sell them anymore. The only place you can get them is from someone who has one. And in Gatlinburg, well, outside of Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, I believe, is the Smoky Mountain Knife Works, and they have the full set behind glass hanging on the wall, and this great big display. It's super cool. But yeah, you can still get super nice replicas of the swords, and they're still, if you get nice ones, they're still expensive too. You're talking between 200 and 300, $400 for a nice replica.
there's a lot of replica swords I would love to have in my collection. There's no doubt. Me and you've talked about this many times, and you have a couple of them already.
Yeah,
Uh,
heck
Matter
yeah.
of fact, when this podcast is over with, I got to go over one with you that I just seen the other day you may not know about right now. Uh,
Uh-oh.
so that's be kind of cool for you. But I just started to think, yeah, that's a ton of money this movie made, and I wonder the whole trilogy itself. I mean, if this made almost $1 billion on its own, what did the entire
Yeah,
trilogy rake in? It had to be a lot. You know, Viggo Mortensen joined the movie when it was already shooting, never having met
really.
director Sir Peter Jackson, it says before, nor indeed having read the J.R.R. Tolkien book. It was Mortensen's 11-year-old son, Henry Mortensen, a fan of the book, who was the chief instigator in convincing him to sign on as Aragorn.
Heck yeah. Well,
Freaking
check this out. I just pulled it up. Um, the trilogy is purported as one of the most major financial successes of all time and is among the highest grossing film series of all time. I could only imagine that Star Wars would be the only one that could possibly have beaten it at $2.991 billion in worldwide receipts.
man.
That's almost $3 billion that
I
the
mean,
three movies together made.
can you imagine? I don't know how they did their contracts for these movies, but can you imagine being the Robert Downey Jr. of the group and going, I'll take less money to do the role, but I want a percentage of the sales.
Yeah. You never had to do another movie again.
Never,
Uh,
never. It says this movie, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. That's all three movies were filmed simultaneously. The back-to-back-to-back shoot
yes.
lasted a record equaling, not record breaking,
Yeah.
274 days across 16 months, exactly the same time it's taken for the principal photography of Apocalypse Now in 1979.
Dang. That's crazy. That's so 16 months. So that's it's 2.5 years then, right? No,
Yeah,
that's not even 2 years. 16
no,
months.
no, 12 months in a
That's not.
year. So that's
Yeah, it's not even.
a year and
But
4 months.
It stretched out over those years.
Right, because they filmed the scenes, but I mean, you still had all the time of editing and everything they do. Not to mention reshoots of stuff they may have had to go back and do, but the editing
Right.
stuff took quite a while as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, and
And see, this was the first time that they had done, I believe, a trilogy or a series of movies where they shot all of them at one time as well. I think that was one of the biggest. I remember at the time that was one of the big deals about the movie was they shot all three already, so all three of them are already completely done.
uh, Hobbiton was made a year before production began to make it look like it was natural, lived in place. They had this place built a year before they started using it and letting it
Yeah,
and took care of it naturally, complete with real vegetable patches.
yeah,
The
to let it
green,
grow up.
yeah,
My wife, the guy, Mr. Talley, he's a psychiatrist or psychologist, whichever one doesn't write the prescriptions. He just went back and got his doctorate last year. Um, at 70 some odd years old, he waited that long. Great man. But anyway, he went to New Zealand last year and went to Hobbiton
that's
and,
cool.
and walked around and saw. He said it was awesome. Said that Bilbo's house, it's not a facade. You can actually walk inside of it. So all that stuff that they filmed there is like it's real.
Well, it says that the greens department regulated the length of the grass by having sheep eat it.
Heck yeah.
So they
So
kept
that
it.
is 100% natural.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They were big on that. Um, but all in all, this is one of my favorite. It is my favorite trilogy of all time, and I have a hard time when it comes to these movies. I can't. I'm always like the original. A lot of the times, it's better than anything else. But these consistently got one step better than the previous because it's deeper
Yeah.
in the story, deeper
And
and
I think
deeper and
part of that
deeper.
may be, but I think part of that, what lent to that was the fact that they did film them all three at one time.
Mhm.
And Peter had a clear vision of, with the two towers, the battle scenes. This is going to be bigger than the last. And then the fight for Gondor. So you had to fight at was it Minas Tirith, wherever it was at Rohan, where they went back. I can't remember the name of the castle, but anyway, that fight was epic. And
Yeah.
then the fight for Gondor was super crazy. That was just
Yes.
the scale that they made that on. Oh, fun fact about that one too. One of the other little differences in the book was the Army of the Dead actually never came to fight for Aragorn in the books. which I didn't mind that at all. Like I said, the movies I got no qualms with. It's just the Amazon thing I didn't like. But the movies, yeah, there's a lot of little things that they added and a lot of little things that they left out, but it doesn't take away from the story and the way that they did it. I'm with you. This is one of not just my favorite trilogies, but this is one of my favorite movies of all time. Yeah. Like it's just the trilogy as a whole, I would consider as one when I say that, you know.
If you could run the recording all into one and play it for one big long movie, I mean, you'd spend all day long watching it, but I would do it.
I've done it.
Have you done it? I would love to. Well, I mean, I watched them all in a day with separate DVDs.
So,
I'm talking about somebody taking the ending of Fellowship and taking the beginning of Two Towers and putting it together at that point, and then
where it doesn't change.
Right,
yeah,
where it keeps going, and then the end of Two Towers into Return of the King consistently go throughout the whole thing,
right.
And just
now I have one time. I would do it again if I didn't have nothing to do and I felt like it. But I have one time last year. It may have been the year before. No, we were living in this house. It was last year. I did one time on a Saturday. I watched the entirety of the Hobbit trilogy and then the entirety of the Lord of the Rings trilogy on a Saturday. And it was, and like I said, I'm only watching extended cuts. So it's like, I started, I think around lunchtime, and it was like 4:00 in the morning the next morning before. And I mean, I wasn't taking breaks either. I mean, I'd get up and go use the bathroom or go outside and smoke or whatever. But it was like, I straight watched those movies, and it was like 12 hours, man. Like 12, 30, like no kidding.
Crazy. I could see doing it though. It'd be very cool to do.
Yeah, they're so amazing. You never get bored with them. It's like you just don't get. It's insane, and it's not the same as like if this was to be busted up into a series where you get, you know what you. So if you say each movie in a trilogy extended is 4 hours, 3 times 4, that's 12 hours, and then I mean close to it, and then the other movies, I think one of them clips right at 3 hours. I think it was the last one. So, I mean, you really do. It's like we're talking 16, 18 hours. So, I mean, that's an easy season and a half, but it wouldn't, I don't feel like it would watch the same,
For people one last thing I want to go over, and then we got to go and wrap it up. We're at hour 52 now. We knew we'd go over an hour.
Yeah.
This movie is too deep. You cannot.
Yeah, when we do Two Towers, we might have to bust it up a little bit.
we might have to. This movie's too deep to go 1 hour on. And like
Absolutely.
I said, when we do Two Towers, we may have to make it a two-parter show. I don't know. We'll see how we do with it. I may split this in 2 parts. Who knows? I mean,
may need to. It's a long one.
Who knows? But we've done hour and 45 before, and you got a lot of listens. So I can't say. I mean, just put something out there, but. For those who are big fans of this movie, if you haven't seen this before, Travis, also, there are shows you can go to with live orchestras playing the music with the movie on the giant screen in the background. And,
dude.
And instead of, and while you're there, while you're watching it, the movie score that's supposed to be playing in the movie, they're playing it live right there for you as a movie.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. Yes, I would go to that.
I don't know if it's a traveling show or what it is, but I thought, man, that sounds so cool.
That would be epic.
Yes. So for those of you who are loving this, who love this trilogy, check out your area and see if it's a thing there for you too. You never know.
I'll tell you too. What'll surprise you too is, and I'm learning this more and more, even with people that are 5 and 10 years younger than us, how much they haven't seen, how much cinema is lost to them. And Lord of the Rings is one of, there's a lot of people that actually have never seen these movies. And I'm just like, I cannot fathom this when I hear it. When I hear it, I'm like, oh, what? How have you not? Like, dude, you got to go watch that right now.
This is one of the main reasons why I love doing this podcast. We talk about 70s, 80s, 90s. We're into the 2000s now. We got a range of 4 decades that we can touch on. That's retro for movies. And really and truly, 70s should be just kind of pushed on out as far as being retro, just being beyond retro.
Classic.
Classic.
I would say 70s goes into classic now.
But
because now, guess what? Now they're calling 90s music classic rock. So I'm like, what? When did this happen?
Yeah, I know. It hurts me, man. It hurts me deep.
It does me too.
But I mean, there's movie exceptions that I will pull into this for this retro show, and I've done one with Jaws already.
Yeah.
I would pull in the Dirty Harry series and talk about that. I would
Heck
pull
yeah.
in, certain things that was in late '70s because it feels like early '80s to me
I
almost.
was just going to say, as we've demonstrated, some of these, especially when you get to late earlys crossovers,
Yeah.
those meld together where you really what that wasn't the 80s. Remember we talked about doing a show that wasn't the 80s, like
Yeah.
because could have swore it was.
Yeah. So I mean, these are things that this is one of the reasons why I love doing this show, this podcast, because we bring to light some movies that maybe some people didn't get a good look at or haven't watched before, and they may watch this show and say, "Man, these guys really got into that. They love it. I need to check this out. Maybe it's as good as they say. I'll like it." I
You're
mean,
right.
I would sit there and paint you a picture for American Ninja that was like
Yeah, man.
the best thing ever to watch. And you watch it, you say, man, the action was actually pretty good in that one. The cinematography of the way it was filmed wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
The fight sequences were kind of cool. You know,
And some of the other thing too is some of these movies that we go over, like this one, like Lord of the Rings, and to take it back another decade, we'll say, uh, something like let's go with National Lampoon. We'll take a National Lampoon,
yeah.
and then we can go back to Dirty Harry, Rambo. I can name them for days. These movies are, especially if you are a fan of cinematics, you're a fan of everything retro, you're a fan of, you know what I mean? If you're a fan of this area of interest, then these are true classics. These are true game changers. These are true. They meant something. This is historical. They have historical significance. You know what I mean? Because they had a major impact on our culture that survives today. You know what I mean? And Lord of the Rings was written what in the 50s, 30s, 50s, something like this.
Somewhere back in there.
National Lampoon, man. Oh my gosh, the Christmas Vacation, the Family Vacation, like all these movies are still referenced today. A Christmas Story. They just redid A Christmas Story with the dude that did Alfie. I haven't watched it yet. I heard it's great, but
I was going to tell
so
you,
these things are actually
worth watching. It's good.
Yeah, I heard it is. But these things, to my point, they have historical significance too. So it's not just that it's uh, to add to it, even though they are great and fully entertaining, and some of them, like Lord of the Rings, are just breathtakingly amazing. They really do have historical significance within our culture, for sure.
And there is a younger crowd, a younger generation trying to get into them. But one of the young guys that works with me at the store I work at was asking me about some good Arnold Schwarzenegger movies from the '80s because he had just watched recently True Lies. He had recently watched
True Lies was great.
But I said True Lies wasn't.
There's a bomb in there.
It's more like the '90s. I said, if you want some great Arnold movies from the '80s, I said you're talking about Terminator, you're talking about Commando, you're talking about
Raw Deal, which probably wasn't his best one, but still.
Oh, what his best one? It was pretty good though.
Yeah,
you got all these good movies he did in the '80s.
There ain't a bad Arnold movie for me, just like there ain't a bad Stallone movie.
Yeah, I mean they're all great. I told him, I said Schwarzenegger, Stallone. I said and Chuck Norris. Those are your big three in the '80s you want to look at. Then you got some secondary minor people, but still, I said, and so that just goes to show you there's a younger generation showing interest, and they're going to watch these
absolutely
movies, and a show like this helps bring that along for them and bring it to light. Say, hey, they're talking about Big Trouble in Little China. Well, that dude talking about it is real passionate about it, and he really was. He loved that movie. I did too.
Right.
So we had a good time talking about it. And they're like, if they can see how good a time we're having talking about it, they got to check this out. So,
right. And then you get a romantic like me on here, and it's like I'm over here talking about the emotional stuff that's going on in this movie, and it's because I'm a dreamer, man. We grew up, like I said, the stories mean so much, and then like with Aragorn, we're talking about what a BA he is. You know what I'm saying? Just like you want to be that dude. Talk about your friend said he had a man crush on him. A lot of times when we say man crush, it's because like I want to be that cool. That's what that relates to. You know what I mean? Like I want to be that guy. So we all, as men, want to be these action heroes. We want to be these awesome people. We as humans want to go on. We want to have, we're always searching for a meaning to life. What is the answer to those? And we see these stories and they give us this meaning. One of your favorites, Commando. I got to say, my daughter, Alyssa Milano. That was why that's one of your favorites, because we were around the age that we was in love with Melissa Milano back then.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
but
Back
no, I
then,
mean, yeah, she was. It's Samantha.
Samantha.
But
Yeah,
yeah, man, and it does. You can look at it as just pure entertainment. You can appreciate the production. You can appreciate the cinematography, the art form of it. So there's so many levels that you can get with this stuff on. You got the art form, you got the historical and cultural significance, and you've got the plain out love of it all. You know what I mean? And the escapism from reality and what we go through day to day, man.
right, right. Well, I hope everybody has enjoyed the show today. I know I did. I had a kick. I mean, I really did enjoy
Oh
it.
man, I did too. It's good to be back.
Yeah, I mean, it's always well. Every time we get back together to a long break, we go long on the show. You notice that? Isn't that funny?
Yes,
Every
every
time.
time.
See, that just goes to show you we got to get you back on more often. Then
I know
we
we
go
were
as
getting in
long as
pretty
we
good
want.
practice. We were getting in pretty good practice. We was clipping her down around. We had gotten down to around a couple of hour and 15-minute shows.
Well, I mean, we could make it an hour if we really work at it. I mean,
Yeah,
really and truly, it's just that this movie, like I said, can't be done in an hour. So, but I do hope
no,
everybody enjoy. I do hope everybody enjoyed the show today. Our breakdown of it, what we thought about it, the explanation of stuff. Travis's knowledge of the Lord, everything was great. I hope you enjoyed that. If this makes you pick up the movie and watch it, or pick up a book and read it, that's awesome. So,
and
I
you
guess
can listen on audiobook. You can look. You don't
yes,
have to pay for Audible. Just to let y'all know, you don't have to pay for Audible. Little life hack. Go to YouTube. There's audiobooks on YouTube. I'll throw it on your TV or your computer or whatever, and you can listen to it in the background or whatever. It's
yeah,
all on there.
exactly. So you got all kinds of options to pick up these things and go with them. So, Travis, as you know, we are available everywhere your podcast is downloaded at. And just
Everywhere.
in case you're not familiar with everywhere, we are on iHeartRadio. We're on Amazon Music. We're on Google Music. We're hosted on Anchor.fm. We are on iTunes and Spotify. We're on Stitcher. We're on everywhere you can go and get a podcast. You're going to find this podcast. Only thing I ask of you, I should say, is that if you do like the show when you watch it, please leave a rating and a review for me. It helps a ton when it comes to the rankings and helps get me more notoriety out there where I'm noticed by the group and puts me further up there. So the more I get noticed, the more people come in and listen. And I do like the show growing. It's grown quite a bit since we started this when me and Travis first started it last year sometime.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes, and to put it out there on Chris's behalf, because he's not going to say it. He's a real humble guy. He's doing look. If this turns into something where he can make a living at it and be out here entertaining y'all full time, he would love that. But this man's doing this out of passion right now and having fun. And this ain't, you know what I'm saying, endorsements and anything like that. It'd be nice if we got there at one point. But anything that you do to recognize the show and to help him get recognized helps him in that manner as well.
It does, and I just started recently. I haven't told you yet. I was going to tell you in a few minutes. I just started recently where uh, on Anchor.fm, if you listen to me on Anchor.fm, you can participate. If I have any questions put up, you can answer on there. You can actually leave me a voicemail on there about with a question or your thoughts or something on the show. There's also a button where it says
Nice.
where you can support the podcast if you want to support the podcast. Because honestly, none of this is free. I do pay for everything pretty much,
Right?
and I'm about to get a website put up soon to go with it. So
Heck
for a
yeah.
little more notoriety and everything. But it does allow you to donate whatever you want, whether it's a penny or whether it's $100. Just to give you an example, it's good. It doesn't matter. It's what you put in there. And the same thing I registered for called Buy Me a Coffee, where if you want to support the show, you can digitally buy somebody a coffee, which is basically saying you're donating money to the show. So if anybody does
Cool.
that, that's awesome. I appreciate it. I'll put it to good use to the show when it comes to new devices, new microphones and boards or whatever, or getting guests on the show if I need to. Whatever the case may be, it's awesome. But the biggest thing you can do for me to support me is to share me with anybody and everybody out there. That means more to me right now than you donating, a dollar or $5 or something. If you recommend me to people and you give me a review, that is worth 10 times any donation to me that I could get. So if you get time to just, drop a review and a rating on there, please do that. And definitely share the show with people who like 80s, 90s movies, 2000s
Heck
movies.
yeah.
There's these great guys out there that go over these things. They're fun to listen to, check them out and everything. And maybe they'll become a fan of the show as well and just add to the growth. So, and you are correct. If I could do this for a living, I certainly would. But in all realistic, to be all realistic about it, I look at, like you said, I love this era and time frame of movies and TV, music and everything. So I just like talking about it.
Me
So
too. Me too.
I mean, you
And
can
since
see,
now this is the second time that I've done this in the manner that I've done it, I feel like this is a lot more mobile and a lot easier for me, and it wasn't hard at all. So I'm thinking I'm gonna be on here a little bit more often with you now too, because like I said, got this thing kind of set up and got my day to day life in a routine. So
yeah.
I can
Well,
look forward to more me.
that would be hey, that would be great. That would be
Heck
great.
yeah.
So, all right, well, everybody, we're going to go ahead and go. Thanks for being a part of the show today and listening to us. I know we went long, extra long, but I hope you enjoyed the show. And we'll be back next week with a new one for you. So, Travis, glad to have you back this week. I hope to see you a lot more soon. And
Heck yeah, buddy. I enjoyed it.
we will catch you guys on the next show. We're out.